it came from the very end of the lesson, because as you go through stuff, you're not exactly sure if you're effectively communicating to the kids until you hear the end result. So when the students started to fill in that Venn diagram and picked up on all the parts that I wanted them to pick up on, being able to identify the type of equation for linear versus nonlinear, being able to identify that it's straight versus curved, and then going even further and being able to identify from that table with a little hint that they pulled that out, I think then I realized, oh yeah, this lesson really did work. It worked quicker and faster than I had anticipated, and they just picked up on it. And to me, just doing a quick assessment of just what I saw from all of them and listening to them talk, it seems to me that everyone in the class, all 13 of them, really got it. So that to me tells me it was effective. I think getting to the groups. So they were in those groups, and I had set a time, and that wasn't appropriate. It was too short. But letting them have a chance to work in those groups and then touching base with each of the group and going over and saying, what are you guys doing here? How's that going? Well, what is it? And just kind of asking them those follow-up questions and steering them in the right direction was really a positive thing. Even the kids who weren't quite sure when I went over, as I probed them and asked them a little more questions, they're like, oh yeah, I get it now. And they were able to jump in with the other things that we're doing. So I think getting to each individual group was the most important. I spend a lot of time lesson planning and organizing everything. So I spend a good, I would say 2 to 4 hours when I plan out my units, and then organizing each lesson separately, and then creating the smartboard for it, creating the worksheets for it, making sure I have all the supplies, and then going through it myself to make sure it works. So, and I think that without that, it would fall apart. So I'm not really a wing it kind of person. I really want the kids to get something out of it, and I feel when I wing it, they don't get really what I want out of it. I really do need to kind of plan it out. And I'm going to do this here and this here and this here, but I do think through the process of, okay, if I were to give them this, how are they going to react to that? And what do I want them to get out of it? So I try to do that type of stuff. And as you saw today, I'm like, where's my Venn diagram at? Because I could have sworn I put it on my smartboard, but it wasn't there. So I just kind of winged that part, but I already had what I wanted in a physical model of it, so I was able to use that. I think without the classroom management, I wouldn't have been able to do the group work, and it wouldn't have been successful. Letting kids get into groups without telling them how to do that and the expectations you expect of them when they're in a group work can lead to chaos. And I think that's why a lot of teachers don't do group work, is they don't model it for the kids. They don't give them time to practice it and then correct their behavior if it's something they're not looking for. So we've been practicing it. I've had a lot of these students for 2 years. So they know what's expected of them when they get into a group and how to work and behave in a group. I think too that without the expectations of how we do discussions in class, like we all take turns, we all are respectful of each other, without those expectations set and the modeling and the practice of it that we've done throughout the year or years I've had them, we wouldn't have had that rich discussion in class. So you saw my kids raise their hands sometimes if they want to answer, and then sometimes they just say stuff, and I let that flow in whatever way it's going to. And usually it flows fairly well because someone's talking, they're all engaged and listening to what they're saying for the most part. And the hand raising they'll do if they really want to tell me something that they want to answer. I think overall it was pretty good. I think there were a couple during the group time that I was like, okay, are they participating? So I went over and kind of asked them, what are you working on? What's your part? So by kind of holding them accountable and saying, hey, I'm looking at you, it kind of let them jump back in, oh yeah, I've been doing this, or I'm going to do this next. So I knew that they were doing what they were supposed to be doing. And then when you ask them questions, they were all able to respond back to me what I was looking for. And then you saw it in the whole group discussion that they were all engaged. So I think for the most part, they were engaged in the activity. I don't know if I made the tie just yet. I had wanted to kind of tie it into the functions that we had been doing in that scenario, and then the idea that the quadratic also has a scenario with it. So I think that's going to come a little bit later when we look at it again on Monday. So I don't think it was quite tied in like I wanted it to be, so it's just something I have to work on. Before getting in the groups today, I thought, oh no, the groups are too big. So I thought, oh, I need to make them a little smaller, because I had a group of 6 and 7. So I was like, oh, that might be too big, but it worked. So for this one, it seemed to work okay. Maybe to expand it a little bit better to, again, kind of tie it into something that they can relate to rather than just graphs on a piece of paper would be another thing. I don't know that the discussion was as rich as I wanted. I mean, they got everything out of it, but just, you reflect back an hour later, oh, could that have been better? So just things I'm going to reflect on. So what I usually do is I take whatever I'd done for the day and I just write myself little notes to think about for next time.